The Starlight Wanderer drifted through the empty void of space, its sleek blue hull glinting in the light of a distant star. Inside the main bridge, Captain Elira gazed out at the star map projected before her. Her large, silver eyes blinked slowly as she considered their next destination. "Captain, all systems are running at optimal levels," First Officer Marin reported, his thin fingers dancing across the control panel. Like all Talarians, both he and Elira stood just over 5 feet tall, with slender limbs and delicate features, adapted to their homeworld's gentle gravity and peaceful evolutionary path. Elira nodded, her translucent skin showing the faint blue pulse of her circulatory system. "Good. We should reach the next survey point within 12 hours. The Talarian science vessel had been mapping this sector for nearly 3 months. Their mission was simple: document new star systems, catalog habitable planets, and avoid conflict. The Talarian Confederation had evolved without major predators on their homeworld, developing advanced technology through cooperation rather than competition. Their ships were built for scientific discovery, not combat. "Captain," called Communications Officer Trell from his station, "I'm detecting an unusual energy signature at coordinates 387642. Elira turned, curiosity piqued. "Put it on the main display." The holographic projection shifted, showing a pulsing red dot against the star map. "It doesn't match any known Talarian or allied ship," Trell continued, his voice growing concerned. "The energy pattern is aggressive." Before Elira could respond, the ship's sensors blared an urgent alarm. 3 dark shapes appeared on the scanner, approaching rapidly from behind a nearby asteroid field. "Unknown vessels on intercept course," called the sensor operator, her voice rising in pitch. "They're powering up weapon systems." Elira felt her dual hearts quicken. Combat was rare in this part of the galaxy. The Talarian Confederation had treaties with most spacefaring species. "Activate defensive shields," she ordered. "Prepare engines for emergency jump." The bridge crew scrambled to comply, but fear slowed their movements. Talarians weren't built for crisis situations. Their bodies produced overwhelming stress hormones at the first sign of danger, an evolutionary response, meant to encourage flight rather than fight. The main view screen switched to show their pursuers. 3 black ships with jagged, predatory designs closed in rapidly. Their hulls bore no insignia, no identifying markers. "Pirates," whispered Marin, his skin paling to a sickly white. The first impact rocked the Starlight Wanderer, sending crew members tumbling from their stations. The lights flickered, then stabilized as backup systems engaged. "Shields at 60%, called the defensive systems operator. "They're using focused ion cannons. They're trying to disable us, not destroy us." A cold dread settled in Elira's stomach. Ships disabled by pirates were rarely found again. Their crews disappeared without a trace. "Jump drive status?" she demanded. "T." Engine officer shook his head. "The gravitational disturbance from the nearby star is too strong. We need to move at least half a parsec before we can safely jump." Another blast rocked the ship. This time, several consoles exploded in showers of sparks. "Shields at 30%, hull breach on deck 4. Elira gripped the arms of her command chair. "Emergency protocols. Alert all personnel to prepare for possible boarding. Security teams to vital areas." She knew their dozen security officers, armed with simple stun weapons, would be little match for pirates, but she had to try. The communications panel lit up with an incoming transmission. Trell hesitated before accepting it. A harsh face filled the screen, reptilian with vertical pupils and scales in mottled gray and green. Sharp teeth showed as the creature smiled. "Talarian vessel," the being hissed, its translator converting the sounds to understandable language. "I am Captain Drex of the Vex Acquisition Fleet. Your ship has been selected for salvage and your crew for processing. Power down your systems immediately." Elira stood, forcing steadiness into her voice. "This is a scientific vessel of the Talarian Confederation. We have no valuable cargo. Leave us in peace and there will be no consequences for this aggression." The Vex captain laughed, a sound like grinding stones. "Consequences? From Talarians? Your species is known throughout the galaxy for its weakness. You evolved without predators. We evolved as predators. The natural order is about to assert itself. The transmission cut. Seconds later, another blast hit the ship, more powerful than before. "Direct hit to our main engines," called the sensor operator. "We've lost propulsion." Red emergency lights bathed the bridge as the main power fluctuated. "They're launching boarding craft," reported Marin, his voice barely a whisper. Elira made her decision. "Trell, send an emergency distress call to Talarian Command. Include our coordinates and situation report." Trell turned to his console, fingers shaking as he prepared the transmission. "Long-range communications are damaged, Captain. I can send a general distress call, but I can't target it specifically to our homeworld." "Send it anyway," Elira ordered, "to anyone who can hear it." As Trell worked, Elira activated the ship-wide communication system. "All personnel, this is Captain Elira. We are under attack by Vex pirates. All non-essential crew, proceed to escape pods. All others, prepare for potential boarding. This is not a drill." She turned to Marin. "Begin data purge protocols. Destroy all research and star charts. Nothing valuable can fall into their hands." On the view screen, they watched as 3 smaller craft detached from the Vex ships, heading directly for their hull. "Distress signal ready," Trell announced. "But the targeting system is malfunctioning. I can't control which direction it will go." "Send it anyway," Elira repeated. "Any help is better than none." Trell's fingers entered the final sequence. In his haste and fear, he transposed 2 critical numbers in the galactic positioning system. Instead of broadcasting toward nearby Allied space, the signal shot off in nearly the opposite direction, toward a sector marked as a void in their navigational database. "Message sent," he reported, unaware of his mistake. The distress call raced through space at faster-than-light speeds, carrying a simple message. "Talarian science vessel Starlight Wanderer under attack by Vex forces at coordinates 872265. Boarding in progress. Any assistance appreciated, please hurry." The signal passed through empty systems beyond the normal patrol routes of allied species. It continued into a region most spacefaring races deliberately avoided, a zone containing a yellow star with a 3rd planet classified in the Galactic Registry as Extreme Death World. On the Starlight Wanderer, the first explosion signaled the Vex cutting through the outer hull. Security alerts blared from every deck. "They're in," Marin whispered. Elira stood tall, though fear made her legs weak. "Lock down the bridge. Arm yourselves with whatever we have. And pray that someone hears our call." Little did she know that their signal was already being received by a species unlike any the Talarians had ever encountered. A species that evolved on a world of predators, disasters, and constant competition. A species whose response would forever change the galaxy's understanding of the word dangerous. The first Vex boarding party reached the science deck, their heavy footsteps echoing through the corridors. Behind sealed doors, Talarian crew members huddled in fear, waiting for their fate. And far away, on a planet the Talarians considered uninhabitable, the first human ships prepared to respond. Admiral James Jackson stood with his hands clasped behind his back, staring at the vast emptiness of space through the reinforced viewport of the UES Defiance. At 6 feet tall with broad shoulders and weathered skin, he cut an imposing figure, even in the standard Navy uniform. 30 years of military service had left him with gray at his temples and a reputation for making the right calls in tough situations. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Wells from the communication station, "we're picking up a distress signal." Jackson turned, one eyebrow raised. Patrol Sector 7 was usually quiet. The edge of human space rarely saw much activity. "Source?" "Unknown, sir," Wells replied, adjusting his headset. "It's not a human frequency, and it doesn't match any Alliance signatures in our database." "Put it through," Jackson ordered. The bridge speakers crackled to life. The message wasn't in any human language, but the ship's advanced translation system quickly processed the alien words. "Talarian science vessel Starlight Wanderer under attack by Vex forces at coordinates 87 to 2265. Boarding in progress. Any assistance appreciated. Please hurry." The bridge fell silent. First contact with a new alien species wasn't unheard of, but it wasn't an everyday occurrence either. Talarian? Jackson asked. Vex? Do we have any information on either species? Commander Rodriguez, the ship's executive officer, quickly pulled up data on her tablet. Very little, sir. Our xenobiology database has limited entries. Talarians are listed as a peaceful spacefaring race from a low-gravity world. The Vex are flagged as a hostile species known for piracy and salvage operations. Jackson nodded slowly. And the coordinates? About 3 hours away at maximum FTL, sir, reported the navigation officer. Outside our normal patrol route, but well within our operational range. Jackson didn't hesitate. In the century since humans had reached the stars, they had built a reputation for themselves, sometimes as reckless, often as unpredictable, but always as a species that answered calls for help. Set course for those coordinates, maximum speed, he ordered, and alert the rest of the battle group we're responding to this distress call. Sir, Rodriguez said quietly, stepping closer to the Admiral. Protocol suggests we should consult with Fleet Command before engaging with unknown alien species. Jackson gave her a level look. Someone out there is in trouble, Commander. By the time we get approval from Command, it'll be too late. He turned to address the bridge crew. This is what we do. This is why we're out here. Around the Defiance, 4 other warships adjusted their course. The cruisers Intrepid and Valiant, and the lighter frigates Swift and Resolute. Together they formed Battle Group Sentinel, one of humanity's rapid response units patrolling the borders of human space. Jackson pressed the ship-wide communication button. All hands, this is the Admiral. We've received a distress call from an unknown alien vessel under attack by hostile forces. We are changing course to respond. This will be a combat situation involving first contact with at least one new species. All departments prepare accordingly. That is all. Throughout the massive warship, over 800 crew members sprang into action. In the armory, Marine squads checked their gear and loaded weapons. In medical, doctors prepared for possible alien casualties. In engineering, technicians ran diagnostics on shields and weapon systems. Lieutenant Maria Rivera stood in the center of the Marine staging area, watching her squad prepare. At 5'7" with short dark hair and intense eyes, she commanded respect from the 20 soldiers under her command. Listen up, she called, and the busy room fell silent. We're responding to an alien distress call. We don't know what these Talarians look like or what condition they'll be in. We also don't know much about the hostiles, these Vex pirates, except that they're boarding the Talarian ship. She paced in front of her squad, making eye contact with each Marine. That means we need to be ready for anything. Full combat exoskeletons, standard loadouts, and remember your first contact training. We might be rescuing people who've never seen a human before. Sergeant Cooper raised his hand. What about environmental concerns, Lieutenant? Different atmosphere, gravity, that kind of thing? Good question. Suit up with full environmental seals, Rivera replied. We'll deploy with helmets on. The ship AI has the limited xenobiology data we have on the Talarians. Low-gravity homeworld, atmosphere similar to Earth but higher oxygen content. Plan for potential injured civilians who may not tolerate our atmosphere. The Marines nodded, resuming their preparations with practiced efficiency. Unlike most spacefaring species, humans had evolved on a high-gravity world filled with predators and environmental hazards. Their bodies were built for endurance and strength, adaptations that made them surprisingly tough by galactic standards. Back on the bridge, Jackson studied the tactical display. Any update on those coordinates? We'll arrive in 2 hours and 47 minutes at current speed, sir, replied the navigation officer. And what do we know about that region of space? Jackson asked. Rodriguez consulted her tablet again. It's outside any claimed territory, sir. No major settlements or stations nearby. The closest outpost is a mining operation about a day's travel from the distress signal location. Jackson nodded. So whatever's happening out there, they're on their own unless we show up. Sir, Communications Officer Wells interrupted. I've been analyzing the distress signal. Based on transmission patterns, I believe it wasn't intentionally directed toward us. It appears to be a broadcast that happened to reach our sensors, meaning they don't even know we're coming," Jackson said quietly. "No, sir. And based on the timestamp, the message is already about an hour old." The Admiral's expression hardened. "Push the engines harder. I want us there in 2 hours." "The engineers won't like that, sir," Rodriguez cautioned. "They'll like it less if we arrive too late to help," Jackson replied. As the human battle group accelerated to dangerous speeds, the ship's AI began compiling all available information on both Talarians and Vex. The results were limited. Humans had explored only a small portion of the galaxy, but enough to develop preliminary combat and rescue strategies. In the medical bay, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Walker reviewed the Talarian biological data. "Bipedal, oxygen-breathing, carbon-based," she muttered to her medical team. "Similar enough that our emergency treatments should work, but we'll need to adjust medication dosages for their higher metabolism and lower body mass." Throughout the ship, preparations continued with methodical precision. The humans had no treaty obligations to the Talarians, no political reasons to intervene. They were responding for the simplest of reasons. Someone had asked for help. As the Defiance pushed its massive engines beyond recommended limits, Admiral Jackson watched the countdown timer on the main display. 2 hours until they reached the coordinates. 2 hours that might make all the difference for the aliens who had accidentally sent their distress call to the species most galactic civilizations avoided, the Death Worlders from the harsh planet Earth. "Let's hope we're not too late," he said to no one in particular, his eyes fixed on the timer as it counted down the minutes until first contact. On the Starlight Wanderer, Captain Elira and her bridge crew huddled behind makeshift barriers. They had sealed the bridge doors, but the heavy pounding from outside told them it wouldn't hold much longer. "How many crew members made it to the escape pods?" Elira asked, her voice barely steady. First Officer Marin checked his tablet. 37 confirmed launches. That's about half our people." Elira nodded, taking small comfort in knowing some of her crew might survive. The remaining members were either trapped in sections overrun by the Vex or had chosen to stay and fight. A hopeless gesture for the peace-loving Talarians. Another powerful blow rocked the reinforced doors. Metal groaned under the strain. "They'll be through in minutes," Trell whispered, clutching a simple stun pistol that looked woefully inadequate. "Has anyone responded to our distress call?" Elira asked, though she knew the answer. Their signal had been sent nearly 2 hours ago. Trell shook his head. "No response. But our communication systems are heavily damaged. We might not be able to receive incoming messages." The pounding stopped suddenly. In the silence that followed, the Talarians exchanged nervous glances. "What are they?" Marin began, but was cut off by a new sound. A high-pitched whine of energy building up. "They're using a plasma cutter," the engineering officer shouted. "Everyone, get back." The Talarians scrambled away from the door just as a bright blue line began to appear along its edge. The Vex were cutting their way in. "It's been an honor serving with all of you," Elira said, standing tall despite her fear. If these were to be her final moments, she would face them with dignity. 2 light years away, the human battle group dropped out of FTL in a flash of distorted space. "Sensors, full sweep," Admiral Jackson ordered the moment the Defiance stabilized. "Find me that Talarian ship." The sensor officer worked quickly. "Contact. 3 unknown ships surrounding a damaged vessel at coordinates 045 by 223. On screen, Jackson commanded. The main display lit up with the scene. A sleek blue ship clearly damaged, surrounded by 3 black jagged vessels. Small craft moved between them. Boarding shuttles. "Life signs?" Jackson asked. "Numerous readings from all ships, sir. At least 2 distinct species based on biosignatures." Jackson didn't waste time. "Tactical. Target the hostile vessel's engines and weapon systems. Communications. Broadcast on all frequencies. Standard first contact package, followed by a demand for the attackers to stand down." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. Within seconds, the Defiance's message broadcast across space. a series of mathematical sequences establishing basic communication, followed by a simple message translated into over 50 known alien languages. Attention unknown vessels. This is Admiral Jackson of the United Earth Defense Fleet. We are responding to a distress call from the ship you are currently attacking. Cease hostilities immediately and withdraw your boarding parties. You have 30 seconds to comply. On the bridge of the lead Vex ship, Captain Drex stared at his communication screen in confusion. Where did these ships come from? He snarled at his crew. Identify them. His tactical officer worked frantically. Unknown configuration, Captain. They don't match any known species in our database, but their weapons systems. The officer paused, eyes widening. They're military-grade, heavy armaments. Drex hissed in frustration. The Talarian science vessel had been an easy target. These new arrivals were clearly something else entirely. Still, he had his reputation to consider. They're bluffing, he decided. No one intervenes for Talarians. Prepare to fire on the lead ship. Show them who they're dealing with. Back on the Defiance, the 30-second window closed. No response. Sir, reported the communications officer. Wait, they're charging weapons. Jackson nodded grimly. They've made their choice. All ships execute Battle Plan Delta. Cruisers target the lead vessel, frigates take the flankers. Minimal force. Disable, don't destroy. The human battle group split apart with practiced precision, moving faster than the Vex ships could track. Before Drex could give the order to fire, the Defiance and Intrepid launched a synchronized barrage that struck his ship's main weapon emplacements with surgical accuracy. The Vex vessel rocked violently. Alarms blared across its bridge. Weapons offline, shouted Drex's tactical officer. Shield generators damaged. How did they target so precisely? Before Drex could respond, more impacts shook his ship. The human vessels moved with unexpected agility, their targeting systems finding vulnerabilities the Vex had thought well protected. On the flanking Vex ships, the situation was no better. The human frigates, swift and resolute, danced around them, their smaller size belying their deadly precision. Within minutes, both supporting pirate vessels had lost propulsion and weapons capability. Inside the Starlight Wanderer, the Vex boarding parties suddenly stopped their assault on the bridge. Their communication devices buzzed with frantic orders from their motherships. Captain, one Vex soldier reported, unknown warships have engaged our fleet. We're ordered to return immediately. On the bridge, Captain Elira and her crew listened as the pounding and cutting stopped. Through the viewport, they watched in amazement as the Vex boarding shuttles hastily detached from their hull and raced back toward their motherships. What's happening? Marin asked, hardly daring to hope. Trell, still at his damaged communication console, let out a sound of disbelief. Someone answered our call. Look. On his screen, a grainy image showed the incredible scene outside. The three Vex ships, now damaged and drifting, surrounded by 5 unknown vessels of sleek, powerful design. Who are they? Elira whispered, moving closer to the screen. I don't know, Trell admitted. Their communication protocols don't match anything in our database, but they're broadcasting on all frequencies. Let me hear it, Elira ordered. The bridge speakers crackled with a voice unlike any the Talarians had heard before, deeper, with different vocal patterns. Talarian vessel, this is Admiral Jackson of the United Earth Defense Fleet. The hostile ships have been neutralized. We're responding to your distress call. Do you require medical assistance or emergency evacuation? Earth? Marin repeated, his scientific curiosity momentarily overriding his fear. I've never heard of it. Elira moved to the communication panel. With trembling fingers, she opened a channel. Unknown vessel, this is Captain Elira of the Talarian science ship Starlight Wanderer. We thank you for your assistance. Yes, we have injured crew members and significant damage to our life support systems. There was a brief pause before the response came. Understood, Captain Elira. We're sending medical teams and engineers to assist. Please prepare for boarding. Our personnel will arrive in environmental suits to minimize any biological concerns. As the communication ended, Elira turned to her crew with wide eyes. They defeated 3 Vex warships in minutes, she said in awe. Who are these people? Outside, the human vessels moved into a protective formation around the damaged Talarian ship. From the Defiance, 4 shuttles launched, carrying medical teams, engineers, and marine escorts. Lieutenant Rivera stood in the lead shuttle, checking her team's gear one final time. Her powered combat exoskeleton hummed quietly, adding 2 feet to her height and multiplying her strength tenfold. Each Marine wore similar armor, an impressive sight even to other humans. Remember, she told her squad, we're here to help. The Talarians are reported to be peaceful. They've never seen humans before, so they might be frightened by our appearance. Keep your movements slow and non-threatening. The shuttle pilot's voice came over the intercom. Approaching docking bay now, Lieutenant. Scans show atmosphere is thin but breathable for humans. Multiple life signs detected, some moving, some stationary. Rivera nodded. Helmet sealed until we assess the situation. Dr. Patel, your medical team stays behind us until we secure the entry point. As the shuttle maneuvered into the damaged docking bay of the Starlight Wanderer, humans and Talarians prepared for a historic moment. First contact between 2 species from vastly different worlds, brought together by a distress call that had found its way to the most unlikely of recipients. The human shuttle docked with a gentle thud against the Starlight Wanderer's damaged hull. Lieutenant Rivera's squad formed up at the airlock, weapons ready but pointed down. The medical team waited behind them, equipment cases in hand. Scans show multiple life signs ahead, Sergeant Cooper reported, checking his helmet display. Some of them don't match Talarian profiles from our database. Rivera nodded. Vex stragglers. They might be trapped or deliberately staying behind. She switched to the squad channel. Remember, non-lethal tactics if possible. We want prisoners who can answer questions. The airlock cycled open, revealing a dimly lit corridor. Emergency lights cast red shadows across the damaged interior of the alien ship. The atmosphere was breathable but thin, just as their scans had indicated. Move out, Rivera ordered. Secure a path to the bridge first. The Marines advanced with practiced efficiency, their powered armor making surprisingly little noise despite its bulk. Each suit enhanced the wearer's strength, speed, and durability, adaptations humans had developed through technology rather than evolution. They encountered the first Vex just 2 corridors in, 3 reptilian aliens attempting to break into what appeared to be a storage room. Freeze! Rivera called out, her suit's external speakers translating into a basic galactic trade language. Drop your weapons. The Vex spun around, their yellow eyes widening at the sight of the armored humans. For a brief moment they stood frozen in shock, clearly not recognizing the species confronting them. Then one raised his weapon. A mistake. Before the Vex could fire, Cooper launched a non-lethal stun projectile. It struck the alien in the chest, releasing an electrical charge that dropped him instantly. The other 2 Vex threw down their weapons, raising clawed hands in surrender. Secure them, Rivera ordered. 2 Marines quickly bound the pirates with restraints while a third checked the storeroom door. Inside, they found 7 Talarians huddled together, their large eyes wide with fear. Rivera removed her helmet, revealing her human face. The Talarians gasped in unison. We're from Earth, she explained slowly, using the translator. We received your distress call. We're here to help. One Talarian stepped forward cautiously. You're not like any species we've encountered before. Rivera smiled, trying to appear non-threatening despite her armor. I imagine not. We need to get to your bridge. Can one of you guide us? The Talarian nodded, still staring with a mixture of fear and wonder. Follow me. I'm Medical Officer Liran. Our bridge is 7 decks up, but the lifts aren't working. Not a problem, Rivera replied. Lead the way. As they moved through the ship, they encountered more Vex pirates, some surrendering immediately upon seeing the armored humans, others foolishly attempting to fight. None lasted more than seconds against the Marines' superior training and equipment. They also found more Talarians, some injured, others simply hiding. The human medical team began treating the wounded while Marines secured each section. Yondaya species, Liran said as they climbed up an emergency access way. You move differently than most spacefaring races, with such purpose. How so? Rivera asked, easily keeping pace despite her heavy armor. Most evolved species avoid physical confrontation, Liren explained. It's inefficient, risky. The Vex are unusual because they maintained aggressive traits despite developing technology. Rivera didn't mention that humans had developed technology precisely because of their aggressive traits, not in spite of them. There would be time for cultural exchange later. They reached a sealed door with visible damage around its edges. This is the bridge, Liren said. The captain and senior crew barricaded themselves inside when the attack began. Rivera nodded to her communications specialist. Contact them. Let them know we're friendly. After a brief exchange, the damaged doors slowly slid open, revealing the Talarian bridge crew. They stood cautiously, staring at the armored humans. With expressions of awe and trepidation, a slender Talarian with captain's insignia stepped forward. I am Captain Alira. You are the ones who answered our distress call? Rivera removed her helmet again and saluted. Lieutenant Maria Rivera, United Earth Defense Fleet Marines. Yes, Captain. Our fleet intercepted your signal and responded. Alira studied the human with undisguised curiosity. Your fleet disabled 3 Vex warships in minutes. How is this possible? The Vex are known throughout this sector as dangerous predators. Rivera chose her words carefully. Earth developed differently than most worlds. We evolved with certain advantages in combat situations. Before Alira could ask more questions, Rivera's comm unit buzzed. Lieutenant, we've secured all decks, reported Sergeant Cooper. 23 Vex captured, 5 injured in resistance, no fatalities. Medical teams are treating 42 injured Talarians. Engineering teams report life support can be stabilized, but the ship's engines are beyond field repair. Understood, Rivera responded. She turned back to Alira. Captain, your ship is secure, but it can't travel under its own power. Admiral Jackson is offering to escort you to the nearest friendly port, or you can evacuate to our vessels. Captain Alira looked around at her damaged bridge, then back to the human. Lieutenant, I don't know how to thank you. Half my crew would be dead or captured if you hadn't arrived. No thanks necessary, Captain. We were just doing our job. First Officer Marin stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his caution. Your job? Does your species routinely intervene in conflicts between unknown aliens? Rivera smiled. When someone calls for help, we answer. It's what humans do. The Talarians exchanged glances, clearly finding this concept novel. I have a question, Trell said, still at his damaged communication console. Your planet, Earth. It's not in any of our star charts or alliance records. Where exactly are you from? Rivera hesitated, then decided simple honesty was best. We're from what you call the restricted zone in Sector 8. The Talarian bridge crew fell silent. Alira's eyes widened. But that's classified as a Deathworld zone. No advanced civilization could evolve there. The conditions are extreme: high gravity, atmospheric toxins, dangerous radiation levels, aggressive fauna. Yeah, we call it home, Rivera said with a shrug. It's not so bad once you get used to it. The Talarians stared in disbelief. Everything about their evolutionary biology had taught them that life adapted for peace and cooperation. Yet here stood representatives of a species that had not only survived, but thrived in conditions considered lethal by galactic standards. Captain Alira slowly extended her hand in what she hoped was a gesture of friendship. Lieutenant Rivera, it seems the galaxy has much to learn about your species. Rivera carefully took the Talarian's slender hand in her armored gauntlet. And we have much to learn about yours, Captain. On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Jackson watched as human medical and engineering teams helped evacuate critically injured Talarians to the ship's advanced medical bay. Sir, Commander Rodriguez reported, we've detained the Vex captain. He's requesting to speak with you. Jackson nodded. Bring him to the conference room. 10 minutes later, the Admiral stood face to face with Captain Drex. The Vex pirate, despite his restraints, maintained an air of defiance. You've made a serious mistake, human, Drex hissed. You don't understand the politics of this sector. The Vex acquisition fleet has powerful allies. Jackson regarded the alien calmly. Is that a threat, Captain Drex? A warning, the Vex replied. No one interferes with our operations, especially not for worthless Talarians. Jackson leaned forward, his voice low but intense. Let me offer you a warning in return. Humans have a saying. Those who live by the sword die by the sword. Today, you attacked a peaceful ship that accidentally sent its distress call to us. Next time you consider preying on the defenseless, remember what happened here. Drex's scales darkened with anger. Who are you people? Where did you come from? Jackson straightened. We're humans from Earth, and we just changed the rules in this sector. As the Vex captain was led away, Jackson turned back to the viewport. The damaged Talarian ship, now surrounded by human vessels, looked fragile against the backdrop of space. Orders, sir? Rodriguez asked. Prepare to take the Starlight Wanderer in tow, Jackson commanded. We'll escort them to the nearest Allied outpost and send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we've made first contact with 2 new species. And the Vex prisoners, Jackson considered this. We'll turn them over to whatever authorities the Talarians suggest, but make sure the galaxy knows who stopped them. As humans and Talarians worked together to repair what they could of the damaged science vessel, word of the encounter was already spreading through Vex communication channels, and from there to the wider galactic community. Mysterious warriors from an unknown world had intervened against one of the most feared pirate fleets in the sector. The age of human isolation was over. The Deathworlders had arrived on the galactic stage. 3 weeks after the rescue of the Starlight Wanderer, the human battle group entered orbit around Tellus Prime, the homeworld of the Talarian Confederation. The blue-green planet below was beautiful, covered in vast oceans and lush continents, with low mountain ranges and sprawling cities built in harmony with the natural environment. On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Jackson straightened his dress uniform. Quite a reception committee, he remarked, looking at the dozens of Talarian vessels that had gathered to escort them into orbit. They've been broadcasting welcome messages for the past hour, Commander Rodriguez reported. News of what happened has spread quickly through their confederation. Jackson nodded. First official diplomatic contact with a new species. Let's make it count. In the ship's main conference room, final preparations were underway for the reception. Captain Elira and the senior staff of the Starlight Wanderer had traveled aboard the Defiance during the journey to Tellus Prime, sharing knowledge and building the foundations of friendship between their peoples. Are you nervous? Lieutenant Rivera asked Elira as they stood by the viewport, watching the planet grow larger below them. The Talarian captain smiled. A little. My people are curious by nature, but cautious with new species. You humans are unlike anything. In our experience, Rivera laughed. We get that a lot. Elira's expression grew serious. The Confederation Council has been in emergency session since we sent word of your assistance. They're eager to establish formal relations with Earth. And we're just as eager, Rivera assured her. Though I suspect some of your people might find us intimidating. Perhaps at first, Elira admitted. But you saved my crew when you had no obligation to do so. That speaks volumes about your character as a species. The shuttle journey to the surface was filled with ceremony. An honor guard of Talarian defense ships escorted the human delegation through the atmosphere to the capital city of Harmonium. Below, crowds had gathered to witness the historic arrival. They've never seen anything like us before, Jackson said quietly as their shuttle approached the massive landing platform where Talarian officials waited. Remember, slow movements, friendly expressions. The human delegation, consisting of Admiral Jackson, Commander Rodriguez, Lieutenant Rivera, and several specialists in various fields, stepped onto Talarian soil for the first time. The gravity was noticeably lighter than Earth's, making each human feel strangely buoyant despite their efforts to move normally. A distinguished Talarian in ornate robes stepped forward. Welcome to Tellus Prime. I am High Counselor Varen of the Talarian Confederation. On behalf of all our people, I extend our deepest gratitude and friendship. Admiral Jackson bowed slightly. High Counselor, I am Admiral James Jackson of the United Earth Defense Fleet. We are honored by your welcome and look forward to building bridges between our worlds. As the formalities continued, news of the human arrival spread through the galaxy. On countless worlds, beings of all species watched broadcasts of the unusual bipeds who had emerged from the so-called Death World Zone and defeated a Vex pirate fleet with ease. In the Grand Council Chamber of Harmonium, the humans sat at a circular table alongside the highest officials of the Tellarian Confederation. The architecture of the chamber was breathtaking, soaring crystal spires that caught the light of the planet's twin suns, creating rainbow patterns across the polished stone floor. High Counselor Varen addressed the assembly. For centuries, our Confederation has explored the stars in peace. We have encountered many species, formed alliances based on mutual respect and scientific exchange. But we have also faced threats, races like the Vex who see our peaceful nature as weakness. The counselor turned to the human delegation. 3 weeks ago, one of our vessels sent a distress call that, by pure chance, reached a species we had never encountered. A species from a world we had classified as too extreme for advanced civilization to develop. Murmurs rippled through the chamber as the assembled officials studied the humans with undisguised curiosity. These humans, Varen continued, responded, without hesitation. They traveled at dangerous speeds to reach our ship in time. They faced a superior Vex force without fear. And they did this not for political advantage or material gain, but because it was, in their words, the right thing to do. Admiral Jackson listened calmly, aware that this moment would shape relations between their species for generations to come. Today, Varen announced, I propose a formal alliance between the Tellarian Confederation and Earth. Not merely a treaty of friendship, but a mutual defense pact that will change the balance of power in this sector forever. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some officials expressed concern about allying with a Death World species whose capabilities were still largely unknown. Others pointed out the obvious advantages of having such powerful allies. Finally, one elderly counselor rose to speak. I have studied the preliminary reports on human biology and history, he said, his voice quavering slightly. Their world has gravity nearly twice our own. Their atmosphere contains elements we consider toxic. Their planet experiences weather, phenomena that would destroy our cities. He paused, looking directly at the humans. To survive such conditions, they evolved extraordinary strength, endurance, and adaptability. But more importantly, they developed something else, a drive to protect those weaker than themselves. This is rare in the galaxy, and precious beyond measure. When the vote came, it was nearly unanimous. The Tellarian-Human Alliance was born. Later that evening, at a celebration in the Grand Gardens of Harmonium, Admiral Jackson and Captain Elira stood watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of purple and gold. Your High Council moved quickly, Jackson observed. I didn't expect a formal alliance on the first day. Elira smiled. The Vex have been expanding their territory for years. Smaller confederations have fallen to their raiding fleets. We've been searching for a solution. And you think humans are that solution? I know what I saw on my ship, Elira replied. Your Marines moved through Vex boarding parties like they were training exercises. Your fleet disabled 3 warships without destroying them, showing both power and restraint. She turned to face him directly. Word is spreading, Admiral. The Vex have already withdrawn from 2 border systems. 3 other confederations have requested information about Earth. The galaxy is changing because of what your people did for mine. Jackson nodded thoughtfully. We've been isolated for most of our history, focused on our own survival. Perhaps it's time we found our place in the wider community of worlds. I think you already have, Elira said. News travels quickly. By now, most spacefaring races know about the Death Worlders who answered a distress call and defeated the Vex. More calls will come. As if on cue, Commander Rodriguez approached with a data tablet. Sir, we're receiving transmissions from 3 different systems, all distress calls requesting assistance against raiders or pirates. Jackson raised an eyebrow. It seems the word is out that Earth is open for business. Will you answer them? Elira asked. The Admiral looked out at the alien, sunset, so different from Earth's yet beautiful in its own way. For millennia, humans had fought each other for resources, territory, and ideology. Now they had found a new purpose among the stars. That's what humans do, Captain, he said with a smile. When someone calls for help, we answer. As night fell, on Tellus Prime, plans were already being made in the human fleet. New patrol routes, response protocols, training programs for joint operations with Tellarian ships. The Alliance would need time to grow, to establish proper channels and procedures. But the message was clear throughout the sector. The Deathworlders had arrived, and they had chosen to use their extraordinary capabilities not for conquest, but for protection. In the vast darkness between the stars, pirate captains and raiders altered their courses, avoiding regions where human ships might patrol. On peaceful worlds, beings looked to the skies with new hope, and in the communication centers of a dozen worlds, the same message was prepared and sent toward Earth. We need help. Please come, the humans would answer. It was what they did. The end.
The sky bled red the day they came. 3,000 years ago, the Zarketh descended like locusts, their ships blotting out the sun, their weapons turning cities to ash. Earth burned, and with it, our innocence. They didn't come to conquer, they came to erase. Billions died in the first hour, their screams swallowed by the roar of plasma cannons and the crackle of disintegrating steel. I was 9, clinging to my mother's hand as we ran through streets choked with smoke and panic. She didn't make it past the second wave. I did, though I've spent every day since wishing I hadn't. They called it the Purge. The Zarketh believed humanity was a blight, a species too reckless, too defiant to be allowed to live. They scoured our planet, leaving nothing but charred ruins and a handful of survivors. Us, the ragged remnants, scattered like ash on the wind. For centuries, we hid, we scraped, we survived, we learned, we hated, and we swore that one day they'd pay. Now, 3 millennia later, I stand on the bridge of the Retribution, staring at the glowing orb of Zarkon Prime, their homeworld, hanging in the void like a ripe fruit begging to be crushed. My hands tremble, not with fear, but with the weight of what's coming. The crew around me is silent, their faces carved from stone, each one bearing scars of a war that never ended. We're not soldiers anymore. We're ghosts, forged in the fire of a dead world, and tonight we'll haunt them. Commander Reyes, my lieutenant says, her voice sharp as the blade at her hip. The fleet's in position. All weapons are primed. We're ready. Ready. The word feels hollow. 3,000 years of rage distilled into this moment, and still, it doesn't feel like enough. I nod, my throat tight. Light it up. The viewscreen flares as the first salvo launches. Antimatter warheads, stolen Zarketh tech turned against them. Their orbital defenses shatter like glass, raining molten fragments into the atmosphere. I imagine their cities below, gleaming spires of alien arrogance, trembling as the sky catches fire. Do they feel it yet? The terror we felt? The helplessness? Direct hit, the lieutenant reports, her eyes glinting with something feral. Their shields are down, second wave incoming. I should feel triumph. I should feel the rush of vengeance fulfilled. But all I feel is the hole where my mother used to be, the echo of her voice telling me to run. This isn't justice, it's survival. It's the only language they understand. The Zarketh thought us weak, a primitive species unworthy of the stars. They underestimated us. While they built their empire, we clawed our way back from the brink. We scavenged their wreckage, reverse-engineered their machines, turned their own arrogance into our strength. 1,000 years ago, we took our first colony ship beyond the asteroid belt. 500 years ago, we cracked faster-than-light travel. And now, we're here, A fleet of human wrath, armed to the teeth with their own nightmares. "Commander," Captain Okoye's voice cuts through the static of the comms. He's on the Vindicator, leading the flank assault. Their fighters are scrambling. They're sending a distress signal. Reinforcements inbound from the outer systems. "Let them come," I say, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "We've got enough firepower to glass half their empire before they get here." Okoye grunts, a sound that might have been a laugh if we still remembered how. "Copy that. Burn it all." Burn it all. That's been the rallying cry since the Exodus, when the last of us fled Earth's smoldering corpse. It's carved into the hulls of our ships, etched into our bones. For every child who starved in the refugee camps, for every survivor who froze in the dark, for every soul lost to their purge, we'd make them pay tenfold. The viewscreen shifts, zooming in on Zarkon Prime's surface. Their capital comes into focus, towering ziggurats of crystal and metal, glowing with an eerie violet light. It's beautiful, in a way, like a predator's scales before you see the teeth. Then the second wave hits. The warheads detonate in blooms of white-hot fury, swallowing entire districts in seconds. The violet light gutters out, replaced by plumes of black smoke and rivers of molten slag. "Thermal readings spiking," the lieutenant says, her fingers flying over the console. "Their power grids collapsing. Civilian sectors are taking heavy damage." Civilian sectors. The words twist in my gut. I see flashes of my own past. My sister, barely 5, buried under rubble. My father, vaporized before he could scream. Did the Zarketh hesitate when they glassed our schools, our hospitals? Did they mourn our civilians? "Keep firing," I order, my voice cold as the void outside. "No quarter." The lieutenant hesitates, just for a heartbeat, then nods. She's young, barely 30, but she's seen enough to understand. We all have. This isn't about mercy. It's about ending them before they end us again. The bridge hums with the rhythm of war, the low thrum of engines, the sharp beeps of targeting systems, the distant shudder of our cannons firing. I lean back in the command chair, my fingers tracing the worn patch on my uniform. Earth's old flag, a faded blue marble stitched by a dead tailor. 3,000 years, and it still feels like yesterday. "Commander," an ensign chimes in, his voice tight. "We're picking up transmissions from the surface. They're pleading." Pleading? I almost laugh. The Zarketh, with their 7-foot frames and their clicking mandibles, begging for their lives. I wonder if they even know what mercy means, or if it's just another word they never bothered to learn. "Play it," I say. The speakers crackle, and a voice spills out, high-pitched, guttural, translated by our systems. "Cease your attack. We surrender. We offer terms. Spare our young—" I cut the feed with a flick of my hand. "They didn't spare ours." Silence falls over the bridge again, thick and heavy. No one argues. No one questions. We've carried this grudge too long for second thoughts. "Third wave ready," the lieutenant announces, "awaiting your command." I stare at the burning world below, at the chaos we've unleashed. 3,000 years ago, they took everything from us. Now we're taking it back, one scorched planet at a time. I close my eyes, just for a moment, and see my mother's face, her last words lost in the flames. "Fire," I say, and the sky burns again. The third wave tears into Zarkon Prime like a vengeful god's fist, and I watch it unfold in silence. The viewscreen is a tapestry of destruction, cities crumbling into dust, violet spires melting into slag, the atmosphere itself igniting in streaks of orange and black. The bridge crew doesn't cheer. There's no celebration in this. It's too raw, too personal. Every blast is a memory, every explosion a debt repaid. My hands grip the arms of the command chair, knuckles white, as if I could squeeze the past out of my bones. "Commander Reyes," the lieutenant says, her voice cutting through the hum of the ship. "Scanners show their fleets mobilizing from the northern hemisphere. They're launching everything they've got, fighters, frigates, even civilian transports retrofitted with weapons." I nod, barely hearing her. My eyes are locked on the planet below, on the glowing wounds we've carved into its surface. Civilian transports. The phrase snags in my mind, sharp and unwelcome. I see them in my head, Zarketh families, their young clutching at their parents, fleeing the fire we've brought. It's a mirror of my own past, flipped and distorted, and it makes my stomach twist. But I shove the thought down. They didn't flinch when they burned us. I won't flinch now. "Intercept them," I say. "No survivors." The lieutenant's fingers pause over the console, just for a second, before she relays the order. I catch the flicker in her eyes. Doubt, maybe, or something softer. She's too young to remember Earth, born in the refugee fleets, raised on stories of ash and loss. But she's old enough to know what this costs us. We're not just burning their worlds. We're burning what's left of ourselves. The retribution shudders as our cannons roar again, sending a barrage of plasma lances into the void. On the tactical display, I see our fleet adjust. Hundreds of ships, each a testament to human ingenuity and spite, fanning out to meet the enemy's desperate counterattack. The Vindicator leads the charge, its silhouette a jagged scar against the stars, Captain Okoye's voice crackling over the comms. "They're throwing everything at us, Reyes," he says, his tone grim. "Fast little bastards. Fighters are slipping through our lines. We've got boarding craft incoming." Boarding craft. The Zarketh aren't just fighting to survive. They're fighting to take us with them. I can almost admire it, that stubborn refusal to die quietly. Almost. "Seal the decks," I order. "All hands to battle stations. If they want to fight up close, we'll give them one." Alarms blare across the ship, a harsh wailing sound that sets my teeth on edge. The crew moves like a machine, years of drills kicking in, their faces hard and unreadable. I unholster the pistol at my side. A crude thing, human-made, not some sleek Zarketh toy. It's heavy, reliable, and it's seen me through worse than this. The first impact hits us minutes later, a dull thud reverberating through the hull, followed by the screech of metal on metal. They're breaching us. I glance at the lieutenant, who's already pulling a rifle from the weapons rack. "With me," I say, and she falls in step without a word. We move through the corridors, the air thick with the smell of ozone and fear. The lights flicker, casting long shadows that dance like ghosts. My boots clang against the deck, each step a countdown. I've fought Zarketh before, ground skirmishes on fringe colonies, knife fights in the dark. They're fast, strong, their mandibles snapping like traps, but they bleed just like we do. And I've learned how to make them bleed. The breach point is chaos when we reach it, a jagged hole in the hull, sealed by emergency bulkheads, and beyond it, the sounds of gunfire and screams. My crew's holding the line, their weapons spitting defiance, but the Zarketh are relentless. I see one, a towering figure in segmented armor, its eyes glowing green through the smoke, tear a soldier apart with its claws. Rage flares in my chest, hot and familiar. I don't think, I charge. The pistol bucks in my hand, round slamming into the Zarketh's chest. It staggers, black blood spraying, but it doesn't fall. Its mandibles click furiously, and it lunges, faster than something that big should be. I duck, barely, feeling the wind of its claws above my head and drive my shoulder into its midsection. We hit the deck hard, a tangle of limbs and fury. My free hand finds the knife at my belt, and I bury it in the soft spot under its jaw. It thrashes, then goes still, its weight pinning me for a moment before I shove it off. "Commander!" the lieutenant shouts, firing at another Zarketh closing in. Her rifle's steady, but her voice trembles. I scramble up, adrenaline singing in my veins, and join her, our shots cutting through the haze. The enemy falls, one by one, but more pour through the breach. Too many. "Fall back!" I yell, grabbing her arm. "Regroup at the choke point!" We retreat, dragging wounded with us, the corridor a mess of blood and broken bodies. My chest burns, not just from the fight, but from the weight of it all. This isn't how I imagined it. Vengeance was supposed to be clean, triumphant. Instead, it's this, a brutal, ugly slog, with death on both sides and no end in sight. Back at the choke point, we dig in, barricading the hall with debris and fallen weapons. The Zarketh hammer at us, their numbers thinning but their ferocity undimmed. I catch my breath, wiping alien blood from my face, and glance at the lieutenant. She's pale, her hands shaking, but she meets my gaze with a nod. She's still here. We all are. "Commander," an ensign's voice crackles through my earpiece. "The fleet's holding, but we're taking losses. Their reinforcements are 30 minutes out." 30 minutes. An eternity in a fight like this. I look at the crew around me, exhausted, battered, but unbroken, and feel something shift inside. This isn't just about burning their worlds anymore. It's about proving we're still human, still worth something, even after everything they took. "Hold the line," I say, my voice steady despite the chaos. "We finish this." The Zarketh charge again, and I raise my pistol, the weight of 3,000 years behind every shot. They burned Earth. Now we burn them and ourselves, down to the last ember. The choke point holds, but barely. The air is thick with smoke and the copper tang of blood, ours and theirs. My pistol's barrel glows hot, each shot a punctuation mark in a sentence 3,000 years long. The Zarketh keep coming, their armored forms crashing against our barricade like waves on a crumbling shore. I see one of my crew, a kid, barely 20, go down, his chest torn open by claws. I fire, and the alien drops, but it's too late for him. Too late for too many. "Commander Reyes!" the lieutenant shouts, her rifle spitting fire beside me. "We can't hold much longer, they're breaking through." She's right. The barricade groans, metal bending under the weight of their assault. I taste ash in my mouth, a memory of Earth clawing its way back. My mother's face flashes again, her eyes wide, her hand slipping from mine. I shake it off. No time for ghosts, not now. "Grenades!" I bark, pulling one from my belt. The crew follows, a ragged chorus of clicks as pins hit the deck. We hurl them over the barricade and the corridor erupts. Flashes of light, shrieks of pain, the wet crunch of alien flesh. It buys us seconds, maybe minutes. I grab the lieutenant's arm, pulling her back. "Fall to the secondary line, now!" We stumble through the ship, dragging the wounded, the Zarketh's guttural cries echoing behind us. My earpiece buzzes, Captain Okoye's voice, strained. "Reyes, their reinforcements are jumping in. 10 minutes out. We're losing ships up here." 10 minutes. I curse under my breath. The Retribution shakes, a deep tremor rattling the walls. They're hitting us from outside, too. Plasma barrages tearing into our hull. I can feel it, the ship bleeding, just like we are. "Hold them off," I tell Okoye. "We're handling the borders." Handling. A lie, but it's all I've got. We reach the secondary line, a narrow junction rigged with turrets, and dig in again. The crew's faces are masks of exhaustion, eyes hollow but burning. They don't ask why we're doing this. They know. It's in our blood, our scars, our dead world. The Zarketh hit us hard, a tide of claws and fury. I fire until my pistol clicks empty, then swing it like a club, smashing a mandible. The lieutenant's beside me, her rifle jamming. She drops it, pulls a knife, and drives it into an alien's eye. We're animals now, all of us, reduced to this brutal dance. "Commander," an ensign gasps through the comms. "Their fleet's here. 3 dreadnoughts, dozens of escorts. We're outnumbered." Outnumbered. The word lands like a punch. I see it on the tactical feed, red blips swarming our green. The Vindicator takes a hit, its flank erupting in silence. Okoye's still fighting, but he's a dead man flying. We all are, maybe. I wipe sweat and blood from my eyes, staring at the Zarketh clawing closer. 3,000 years of hate brought us here, and for what? To die in their halls instead of ours? Number, I won't let it end like this. "Reroute power to the core," I say into the comms. "Prep the antimatter cascade." The lieutenant freezes, her knife dripping. "That'll take out everything. Us, them, the planet." I meet her gaze, steady despite the chaos. "It's what we came for." She nods, slow, and relays the order. The ship hums, a death knell rising. We burn their worlds, or we burn with them. The retribution groans like a dying beast as power surges to its core, the antimatter cascade charging with a low, ominous hum. I feel it in my chest, a vibration that promises oblivion. The corridor is a slaughterhouse, bodies strewn across the deck, human and Zarketh tangled in death. My hands are slick with blood, my pistol long gone, replaced by a jagged piece of metal I ripped from the barricade. It's crude, but it kills just fine. "Commander Reyes," the lieutenant says, her voice hoarse as she reloads her salvaged rifle. "Cascade's at 60%, 5 minutes to critical." 5 minutes. I nod, my jaw tight, and drive my makeshift blade into an Zarketh crawling toward us. Its green eyes dim, and I feel nothing. No satisfaction, no relief. Just the weight of what's coming. The antimatter cascade isn't a weapon. It's a reckoning. It'll rip Zarkon Prime apart, turn the retribution to dust, and take every soul, ours and theirs, with it. A final, screaming answer to their purge. The comms crackle, Okoye's voice faint through the static. "Reyes, we're done up here. Vindicator's crippled. Dreadnoughts are closing. If you've got a miracle, now's the time." No miracles. Just this. "Hold them as long as you can," I say, knowing it's a death sentence. He doesn't reply, but I hear the Vindicator's cannons roar one last time before the line goes dead. Another piece of us lost to the void. The Zarketh in the corridor are faltering, their numbers thinning, but their dreadnoughts outside are a different beast. The ship rocks again, a blast tearing through the outer hull. Alarms scream, red lights bathing us in a hellish glow. I glance at the crew. Fewer now, their faces gaunt, some praying, some staring blankly. They're with me, even in this. I don't know if that's loyalty or despair. 70%, the lieutenant reports, her hands trembling as she braces against the wall. "They're still boarding. Another breach, Deck 7. Deck 7. Too close to the core. If they reach it, they could stop the cascade, and all this, every drop of blood, every burned world, will be for nothing." "We move," I say, hauling a wounded soldier to his feet. "Protect the core." We stagger through the ship, a ragged band of survivors, the walls buckling around us. The air's thin, oxygen leaking into space, but we push on. My lungs burn, my vision blurs. But I see her again. My mother, running, falling, gone. This is for her, for all of them. We reach Deck 7, and it's a war zone. Zarketh swarm the corridor, their armor scorched but intact, weapons spitting energy. My crew fires back, a desperate stand, but we're outmatched. I hurl my blade, catch one in the throat, then tackle another, slamming its head against the deck until it stops moving. The lieutenant's beside me, her rifle blazing, but a claw catches her side, and she goes down with a cry. No! I drag her behind a console, her blood soaking my hands. She's gasping, eyes wide, but she grabs my arm. Finish it, she whispers. Don't let them win. I nod, throat tight, and leave her there, hating myself. The cores ahead, a pulsing sphere of light behind reinforced glass. Zarketh claw at it, their tools sparking against the casing. I charge, screaming, a feral thing born of rage and grief, and take them down, 1, 2, 3, until the floors slick with their blood. 90%, an ensign's voice buzzes in my ear. Brace for detonation. I slump against the core, breathing hard, the hum now a roar. The lieutenant's gone still behind me, her rifle silent. The Zarketh are dead or dying, and outside, their fleet closes in. 3,000 years, and it ends here, not in victory but in fire. Burn it all, I mutter, closing my eyes as the cascade hits critical. The core's roar fills my skull, a deafening pulse that drowns out everything, gunfire, screams, the distant shudder of the retribution breaking apart. I'm slumped against it, the glass warm against my back, vibrating with the promise of annihilation. The antimatter cascades at critical, seconds from tearing Zarkon Prime, and us into nothing. My hands are sticky with the lieutenant's blood, her last words echoing in my head. Don't let them win. I won't, even if it costs me everything. The comms spit static, a voice breaking through, an ensign, panicked. Commander Reyes, cascade's locked. Someone's overriding it from the bridge. My eyes snap open. Overriding it? That's impossible. Only a handful of us have the codes, and they're here, dead or dying. Betrayal hits me like a fist, sharp and cold. Someone's turned. I stagger to my feet, the ship tilting as another blast rips through the hull. The Zarketh are gone from this deck, their bodies littering the floor, but outside, their dreadnoughts hammer us relentlessly. If the cascade fails, they'll finish what they started 3,000 years ago. I stumble through the corridor, the walls buckling, sparks raining from torn conduits. My legs scream, my lungs burn, but I push on, driven by fury and something darker. Doubt. Who's left to betray us? Okoye's dead, the lieutenant's gone, the crew's bleeding out. The answer claws at me, but I don't want to face it. Not yet. The bridge is a wreck when I reach it. Consoles smashed, bodies slumped over controls, the viewscreen cracked but still showing Zarkon Prime burning below. A figure stands at the command station, fingers flying over the panel. My second-in-command, Captain Harrow, alive somehow, his uniform torn but his posture defiant. He doesn't see me until I'm on him, slamming him against the console. "What the hell are you doing?" I roar, my voice raw. He doesn't flinch, his eyes meeting mine, calm, cold, unrepentant. "Saving us, Reyes. You're killing us all." "Saving us?" I shove him harder, my fist trembling. "They burned Earth. You'd let them live?" "They're beaten," he snaps, shoving back. "Look at it. Half their planet's ash, their fleet's in chaos. We've won. But this?" He gestures at the core's readings, the cascade's countdown frozen at 99%. "This isn't victory, it's suicide." I stare at him, chest heaving. He's wrong. They're not beaten. Not while their ships still fly. Not while their empire stands. But his words sink in, poison seeping into cracks I've ignored. The crew's dead or dying. The retribution's a husk. And I'm about to erase us all. Is this what my mother died for? For me to become them? "They'd do it again," I say, quieter now, my grip loosening. "You know they would." "Maybe," Harrow admits, stepping back. "But we're not them, not yet." The ship lurches, a dreadnought's salvo tearing into us. The lights flicker, and I hear it, the cascade's hum faltering. Harrow's override is working. I could stop him, kill him right here, let it all burn. My hand twitches toward the knife at my belt, but I hesitate. 3,000 years of hate scream at me to finish it, to make them pay. But there's something else. Her voice, faint, telling me to run, to live. "Commander," an ensign yells from a flickering console. Their flagship's hailing us, offering terms. Terms. Surrender. Mercy. Words the Zarketh never gave us. I look at Harrow, his face a mask of hope I can't feel. Then at the view screen, Zarkon Prime smoldering but still there. The cascade's silent now, dead in its cradle. "Patch it through," I say, my voice hollow. This isn't over. Not yet. The bridge is a tomb, the air heavy with smoke and the weight of Harrow's betrayal. The view screen flickers, casting jagged shadows as the Zarketh flagship's transmission comes through. I stand rigid, my hand still hovering near my knife, Harrow a step behind me. Too close. Too alive. The ensign at the console glances my way, his fingers trembling as he patches in the signal. I nod, and the screen resolves into an image that twists my gut. A Zarketh commander stares back, its 7-foot frame draped in scorched armor, mandibles clicking slow and deliberate. Its eyes glow green, unblinking, and the translator hums as its guttural voice spills into our language. "Human fleet, this is High Warden Khazrathul. Your assault ends now. We offer ceasefire, terms of survival. Refuse, and our dreadnoughts erase you." Survival. The word burns like acid. I see Earth again, flames licking the sky, my mother's hand slipping away. They didn't offer us survival, they offered ash. My fists clench, nails biting into my palms, but Harrow steps forward before I can speak. "We accept," he says, his voice steady, cutting through the silence like a blade. "Ceasefire. We'll negotiate." "What?" I whirl on him, grabbing his collar, slamming him back against the console. "You don't speak for us!" The ensign flinches, the few surviving crew members staring, some with fear, some with something I can't name. Harrow doesn't fight back, just meets my gaze, his jaw set. "Someone has to, Reyes. You'd kill us all for a ghost." A ghost. My mother's face flashes again, and I shove him away, breathing hard. The Zarketh commander watches, silent, its mandibles still. I turn to the screen, my voice a low growl. "You burned our world. Billions dead. Why should we trust you now?" Khazrathul tilts its head, a gesture almost human. "You have proven your strength. We underestimated you. This war ends, or none survive." I laugh, a harsh, broken sound. Strength. They call this strength. Our fleet in tatters, the retribution bleeding out, my crew's bodies scattered like debris. I glance at the tactical display. Red blips outnumber green 10-1. The dreadnoughts loom, their weapons hot, waiting. Harrow's right about one thing. We're dead if we fight. But surrender? To them? "Commander," the ensign says, his voice tight. "Their guns are powering down, holding position." A ceasefire, a trap, maybe, or a chance. I don't know anymore. My head pounds, the weight of 3,000 years pressing down. I think of the lieutenant, bleeding out on deck 7, whispering, "Finish it." I think of Okoye, silent in the void. I think of Earth, a blackened husk we'll never reclaim. "Stand down," I say finally, the words tasting like bile. "But keep weapons primed, no trust." Harrow exhales, relief flickering across his face. I want to hate him for it, for forcing this, but I can't. Not yet. The ensign relays the order, and the Retribution's cannons go quiet, though their hum lingers, a coiled threat. The Zarketh commander nods, its image fading from the screen, leaving us in the wreckage of our own making. Silence falls, heavy and suffocating. I turn to Harrow, my voice low. "If this goes wrong, you die first." He doesn't blink. If it goes right, we live. That's worth it. Is it? I don't answer. Just walk to the cracked view screen, staring at Zarkon Prime. Half burned, still breathing. The cascade's dead. Our vengeance stalled, and now we're bargaining with monsters. I feel the crew's eyes on me, waiting for something. Hope, rage, anything. But I've got nothing left to give. Get me a line to the fleet, I say. We're not done yet. The retribution hangs in the void, a broken shell cradling what's left of us. The ceasefire holds, for now, but the silence is a lie, stretched thin over the hum of primed weapons and the distant glow of Zarkon Prime. I stand at the shattered view screen, hands clenched, staring at the planet we almost erased. Harrow's at my side, too close, his presence a splinter under my skin. The crew watches me, their faces etched with exhaustion and something worse. Hope, fragile and unearned. "Fleet's on the line, Commander," the ensign says, his voice unsteady as he patches through the survivors. Static crackles, then resolves into a chorus of battered voices, captains of the few ships still floating, their tones a mix of defiance and despair. "Reyes," one says, her voice rough. "Ecliptic here. We've got hull breaches, no shields. What's the play?" "Harrier reporting," another cuts in. "Lost half my crew. Zarketh dreadnoughts are still out there. Ceasefire or not, they'll turn on us." I don't answer right away, my eyes locked on the planet below. The Zarketh offered terms, but trust is a luxury we lost 3,000 years ago. Harrow shifts beside me, his breath catching like he's about to speak. I cut him off with a look, sharp enough to draw blood. "We hold position," I say into the comms, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "Weapons hot, eyes open, they move. We hit back, hard." A murmur of assent ripples through the fleet, faint but resolute. They're with me, even now, even after everything. I kill the line and turn to Harrow, stepping close, my voice low. "You forced this. If they betray us, it's on you." He meets my gaze, unflinching. "And if they don't, we've got a future. You can't see past the fire, Reyes." The fire. Earth's flames flicker in my mind, unbidden. My sister's cries, my father's silence. I shove it down, but it's there, always there. "Future?" I spit. "They took ours. You'd give them mercy?" "Not mercy," he says, quieter now. "A chance. For us." I want to hit him, to break that calm resolve, but the ensign interrupts, his console beeping frantically. "Commander, incoming transmission. High Warden Kazrathul again." "Put it up," I snap, stepping back from Harrow. The view screen flares, and the Zarketh commander reappears, its green eyes piercing through the haze. Its mandibles click, slower this time, deliberate. "Humans," it says, the translator's voice flat. "We propose retreat. You leave our system, we leave yours. No further blood." "Retreat?" My chest tightens, rage coiling like a spring. Leave after all this? After the Retribution's scars, the Vindicator's grave, the Lieutenant's last breath? I open my mouth to refuse, but Harrow's hand lands on my arm. Light, warning. I shake him off, but his words from before linger. A chance. "Why now?" I demand, staring down Kazrathul. "You've got the numbers. Finish us." The Zarketh tilts its head, a gesture I can't read. "You have proven your will. We have lost much. This ends, or all is ash." I glance at the tactical display. Our fleet's a shadow of what it was, their dreadnoughts still looming. They could crush us, ceasefire or not. But Zarkon Prime burns below, half dead from our wrath. Maybe they're scared. Maybe they should be. "Commander," the ensign whispers. "Fleet's waiting. Orders?" I look at Harrow, his hope a quiet plea, then at the crew. Broken, but alive. 3,000 years of vengeance scream in my veins, but there's something else now. A flicker, faint and unfamiliar. Survival. Tell the fleet, I say, my voice a blade. We pull back, but if they follow, we burn them to the last. Khazrathul nods, and the screen goes dark. The bridge exhales, but I don't. This isn't peace. It's a pause. The retribution limps away from Zarkon Prime, engines groaning as we pull back into the void. The planet recedes on the cracked view screen, a smoldering ruin, its violet glow dimmed by our wrath, but still alive. Too alive. My hands grip the command chair's arms, the worn patch of Earth's flag rough under my fingers. The ceasefire holds, a brittle thread stretched across light years, and the Zarketh dreadnoughts hang back, their weapons silent. For now. I don't trust it. I don't trust anything anymore. Fleet's in formation, the ensign says, his voice a ghost of itself. Ecliptic and Harrier report critical damage, but they're moving, heading for the jump point. I nod, my throat tight. The bridge is a graveyard. Empty stations, bloodstains on the deck, the hum of strained systems the only sound. Harrow stands near the tactical console, his eyes on me, waiting for something I can't give. Forgiveness, maybe. Or an admission he was right. He'll get neither. Jump coordinates locked, he says, breaking the silence. We're clear in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. An eternity when every second feels like a betrayal of the dead. I see them all. The lieutenant, Okoye, my mother, my sister, faces carved into my soul, demanding I finish what we started. 3,000 years ago, the Zarketh turned Earth to ash, and now I'm walking away, leaving their world breathing. My chest aches with it, a hollow fury I can't shake. Commander, the ensign cuts in, hesitant, picking up a signal, weak, from the planet. It's human. Human? My head snaps up, and I stride to the console, shoving past Harrow. Play it! The speakers crackle, a faint voice breaking through the noise. Tired, desperate. This is Outpost Delta. Survivors. Zarketh camps. If anyone's out there, please. The signal dies, swallowed by static. Survivors. Humans, trapped down there, left behind after the purge. My stomach twists, a fresh wound opening. We didn't know. All this time, we thought we were the last. And now this. Scan it, I order, my voice sharp. Find them. The ensign's hands move fast, the console beeping as it sweeps Zarkon Prime. Harrow steps closer, his face pale. Reyes, we can't go back. The ceasefire. Screw the ceasefire, I snap, turning on him. They're ours. We don't leave them. He grabs my arm, his grip firm. We go back. We're dead. The fleet's done. Look at us. I yank free, my knife in my hand before I realize it, the blade an inch from his throat. You don't get it, Harrow. We're not done until they're all free. Or we're all gone. He freezes, eyes wide, but doesn't back down. You'll kill us for a signal? The crew stares, tension coiling tight. The ensign clears his throat. Got a lock, northern quadrant, faint life signs. Could be hundreds. Hundreds. My breath catches. I lower the knife, but the fire in me doesn't fade. Set a course, I say. We're going in. Reyes. Harrow starts, but I cut him off. Shut up and follow or get off my ship. He hesitates, then nods, stepping back. The retribution turns, a wounded beast baring its teeth, and the fleet follows, ragged, defiant, human. Zarkon Prime looms again, the ceasefire trembling. I don't care if it breaks. 3,000 years ago, they burned us, but we rose from the ashes. Now we'll take our own back, or burn their worlds to the ground trying. The jump point fades behind us, and I smile, a grim, feral thing. This is who we are, not survivors, not ghosts, warriors. And the fight's not over.